Hey there, and welcome to the Classical Liberal Project. My name is Danielle, and I'm here with Jonathan Casey, the
Hello,
chair of
hello.
the Classical Liberal Caucus, and Jaron. How do you say your last name? I should ask
Weidner.
before. Widener. Okay,
Yes.
that's what I would have said, but from Libertarians Who Make Art. Welcome.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So can you just tell us a little bit about Libertarians Who Make Art for folks that maybe don't know what that is?
Yeah. So a little bit of background on me. I have a degree in music business, and so I have that plus the last few years being involved with the Libertarian Party of Tennessee, um, and just trying to find a way to um, promote more art within the Libertarian Party, and creativity, and kind of it seemed like there was a need for that, and just for creative libertarians to like have a community and find each other and help promote our projects. So that was really kind of where the idea came from. And so 2 years ago I started with just like a Facebook group and invited some people that I knew were libertarians who did music or painting or whatever it was, and it sort of has organically grown from there. Um, there are now several hundred people in the Facebook group, and there's a website, and I'm writing articles and doing interviews with artists. And yeah, it's been pretty awesome to watch it grow and just to meet all these really interesting creative libertarians.
When did you start? When did you guys start?
I started with the Facebook group about 2 years ago, and it was just that and like an Instagram account, and that was about it at first.
Okay, nice. And so I'm assuming that this is a broad range. I've seen a few of your interviews and stuff like that. I'm assuming it's pretty much a broad range. Anything that can be considered art is acceptable, or is there any kind of parameters that people have to meet?
So like the main tagline that I had from the start was music, books, film, and more. And so kind of the main focus is on those types of things of music, books, and film. But there's also a lot of visual artists and painters, and Danielle has also been a part of it from early on too. So um, a lot of that, and I like to have uh, different types of artists. Like one of the upcoming articles is a guy who does pyrography, so he does like wood burning art. So it's just interesting things that I never really even considered, but there's libertarians doing all sorts of creative stuff.
Yeah,
Can you
I'd never heard that word before, so there you go.
can you think of any other like offbeat ones that you've heard of or interviewed anyone about?
Um, let's see what else we got.
Well, I know you interviewed Danielle not too long ago. What kind of art do you do, Danielle?
I do mixed media art. So I've been working in clay, but I've done a lot of painting and I really enjoy making protest signs. It's like my big libertarian art thing
I love it.
usually.
I
Oh, and
love it.
I've made paintings for auctions for like LP Washington and
Oh,
our county and stuff.
I'll have to talk to you. We've got there's a LP Texas is having a silent auction to stuff, so
Yeah.
we might have to come up with some stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Jaron, what other interesting, weird, and wacky people? I mean, listen, we're libertarians. We're all kind of weird and wacky,
Right. And then the
Yeah.
but
artist.
especially the artist on top of that.
Right.
That's a whole new level. So what other kind of specific arts forms have you seen?
um, let's see. Gosh, there's so many that I've connected with now. It's hard to think of specific ones, but like there's one. Um, she does a lot of like cosplay stuff, and then she also makes these like handmade Pokeball things. Like they're like little
Okay.
displays, like kind of like a diorama or something with like the Pokemon inside this big Pokeball thing. They're, you know, super unique. So
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like a fairy garden, but it's Pokemon.
yeah.
Oh, okay. I knew some friends who were very much into Dungeons and Dragons. They had figurines, and they were
Yeah.
into all that. And I somehow missed out on the Dungeons and Dragons. I had a few friends that were into it, but I somehow that skipped by me, and I think I just went into video games instead. So.
Yeah. Interesting side note: I was playing Dungeons and Dragons 2 nights ago with a group that I play with.
Nice. My day job's at a board game store, so I'm around
Really?
D&D nerds all the time. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Well,
Oh
that's
yeah.
great.
Well, I'll get lots of barista stories to you guys the longer we do this, because yeah, I'm weird, but the people that come into coffee shops,
My
especially
wife,
before coffee.
right?
Yeah.
You're right, exactly. My wife was a barista when we first met, so I know how that goes. The stories she would come home, I'll be like, that is so weird, because I've always been in
Yeah.
the customer service industry, but actually going to people's homes, and there it's a little bit different. And usually we had a higher end clientele, but I'd still get a few stories here and there where husband and wife just have an all out argument in front of you, and you're just standing there going, "What is going on?"
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I managed a coffee shop for about 5 years, so yeah, I
Nice.
would definitely know what
What do
that's like.
Gotcha. What do you do now?
Now I'm a manager at a restaurant, so
Hmm.
not too much
I
different.
was gonna say you probably have plenty of stories from that.
Yep.
So where do you want to take Libertarians Who Make Art? Where do you see yourself in a few years? Are there specific goals you're looking for? Are you really just building a community? Where do you want to take it?
Yeah, so I would definitely like to continue to grow. Um, I went to the Libertarian Party of Tennessee State Convention back in, was it April this year? Um, and I set up a table there and had some T-shirts and stuff like that, and some artwork. There was a local artist, libertarian, who had her paintings there, and we actually did one of the workshops during the convention, and so that was a really cool experience. That's the first time we've done something like that. So I definitely like to do more of that. Go to different events and have a presence there. Um, I don't know. I've got different ideas with like maybe turning the articles into like a digital magazine or something like that. Um, Definitely want to do more video content, which I'm not very good at. So, but I know that YouTube and TikTok is where to be these days. So I'd like to try to do more on that. But yes, just continue to expand um, our reach and be able to actually provide good resources for the artists and exposure for them and help them actually promote their projects and be more successful in whatever they're trying to do, as well as sort of just um, in a more general sense, bring awareness to more of the broad public of like, hey, we are libertarians and we're making these interesting creative things. Like, it doesn't all have to be like libertarian themed art. It's just a really cool film or novel or whatever it is. Um, but like, we're libertarians and we're real people, and this is things that we work on. We're not just typing on keyboards in our basements spouting off libertarian philosophy. We're actually like engaging with the world, doing cool things.
Well,
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
okay, no. That's just so you mentioned the art and kind of politics. Do you find that most of the artists that you interact with is their art specifically libertarian, or is it just they happen to be libertarians who make art, or are they making art that is libertarian, or is it just kind of a mixture, all kind of in between? I know Danielle said that she likes to make protest sign. Well, that's clearly very
Yeah.
politicized art. What's kind of the mix there? Is it 50-50 or somewhere in between?
It's definitely a mixture. I'd say at the moment it's probably more people who have libertarian themes in their artwork.
Okay.
But I'm not very particular with like the artists that I'm seeking out. Um, Basically, if you are making art, if you're doing music or film or anything like that, and you also claim the word libertarian, that's a pretty strong statement in and of itself. And so, if you're brave enough to say that you're a libertarian and also like try to produce some type of entertainment, um, that's kind of enough criteria that I'm looking for. It's like if you claim that you're libertarian and you're making something cool, um, that's what I'm doing. And so when I first started out, um, there's a few other websites. There's one's called Art for Liberty, and so to me, I found a few of those that were like specifically people who were making liberty themed art, and that one has like a lot of novels and stuff like that. Um, and I guess it sort of comes out of my background of being involved with like youth group and church related um, things with Christian music and Christian punk music, and the whole discussion of are you a Christian band or are you just Christians in a band and stuff like that, and that whole craziness. um, and so yeah, I kind of went that route of like it doesn't have to be liberty themed specifically. Like it can be,
Right.
um, but as long as you're a libertarian making something cool, that's what I care about.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like it a
So
lot.
inclusive.
Yeah, well, I remember, I don't know if you're old enough, Jaron, but I remember back in the day, Evanescence got
Oh
labeled as
yeah,
a Christian band for a while, and they're like, "What?"
yeah,
Which they weren't like, if I remember correctly, they were pretty clean. They weren't that, raunchy or anything. So
yeah,
but who knows how they got labeled that, which I thought was pretty funny. So
yeah. I think because I was definitely kind of involved with the whole thing. That was definitely during my high school days and youth group and everything. And yeah, that discussion, because I think there was like a guest vocalist on one of their songs who was in a popular Christian rock band, and so that sort of like
Mm.
lumped them in, and they're like, "No, we're not a Christian band." Like,
right.
We're just friends with Christians,
yeah,
guys. Yeah.
Well, it is funny. I mean, it's always one of those things of where, an art doesn't have to be explicitly something, but the artist's intention, I think that's why art can be so appreciated, is because we look at it and we can try to appreciate what the artist is telling us, but we can also look at it and what does it telling ourselves, and not it's not always what the artist is intending to tell somebody, but it can be what we
mm,
just interpret it as. And we walk up to a painting, especially modern or abstract, and you can just look at it and it gives everybody a completely different reaction to it. And I find that pretty special. um, and I think that there's something innate in us that regardless of what the intentions of the art form are, it can be a completely unique experience to each individual. You and I can look at the same picture or painting and have completely different interpretations of what the artist is trying to say.
yeah,
And that's and some artists are like, well, I don't want you to know what I was saying, and some artists are very specific about what they're trying to say. So interesting. It's an interesting thing to think about, and one of those things that I can literally sit in a museum and stare at a painting for a long time. So
yeah,
Me
and
too. There are reasons people don't go with me to the art museum.
yeah, I understand that.
I think that you know, an artist, you might not intend to like put your specific philosophic views in your art, but like if that's your worldview, that's kind of just gonna come through what
Right.
you do anyway. If you write a fantasy novel or something, if you're libertarian, those views will subtly be there because that's your worldview. So
Now, Jaron, you said that you did a workshop at the Tennessee State Convention. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, so that was like well, I
Or
guess it
was
was
that
like
just like, oh,
they had
okay.
these like breakout sessions, I guess they were called, um, where different people gave little like 30-minute um, discussions about specific topics. Um, and so I talked a lot about kind of the stuff I'm talking with you about. Um, and I was also fortunate enough to have Lauren Weidner, who's one of the artists that I've interviewed. She's also from Tennessee, and so she was there. She talked about her art. She does painting. She's really good. So just sort of discussing the concepts of um, libertarianism and the role of art in the liberty movement. It's kind of what we went over during that breakout session.
I just a few weeks ago, I took my wife and I took our 3 kids to Brickfest, and they had some sessions. I was really hoping that by breakout session, you meant that they were doing art during the
Yeah,
session, and that's what they did at Brickfest. Is you could walk up to a table and just start building things. They had piles of Legos. I was like, man, that'd be awesome for a to just okay, convention's over for 30 minutes. Go make art.
that
I
would
was
be
just
real cool.
imagining everybody finger painting or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's a
I'll do that at your convention.
Right there we go. Let's do it. Let's do it. In DC 24, we're gonna have finger painting session.
Oh, yes. I'll stay at the booth all day.
There you go.
Um, oh, I had another question and I just lost it. I started thinking about finger painting. Got real
Right?
excited.
Sorry, I distracted you with finger painting. Oh,
Oh,
so
I
you're
I
into. Oh,
want
go
to
ahead.
know. Sorry. What do you think is the place of art in the libertarian movement?
yeah. So um, I feel like the art and entertainment industry is is a really important place to be. It's a huge part of culture. I think that um, our culture is very influenced by the art and entertainment that we consume, and for a while now, it seems like a lot of the people involved in those industries um, have particular um, views that a lot of people might not align with, and it's difficult to have like large commercial success if you don't align with certain viewpoints within the art and entertainment industry. Um, so I think there's definitely room for libertarians to kind of like help support each other with their creative projects and uh, just be more involved in the art and entertainment industry and have more of a voice in the public sphere. Uh, I had another point that I was going to say with that. I'm trying to remember what I was going to say now.
I do appreciate that you were able to like provide us with a space to connect because like it is mostly philosophy in the Libertarian Party. And like I'm a weirdo artist. So it's like nice to know that like, okay, there are other people like me. Um, and like with the CLC too, obviously. But
Mhm.
Yeah, we do
yeah.
focus. We focus so much on talking. It's really good to have a space where people can actually be doing something.
Yeah.
And so it's really good that there's an actual something like this where you can actually share each other and be creative with each other, where you're actually doing, touching grass as opposed to everybody else.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think libertarian circles tend to be um, a lot of just philosophy discussion groups, basically.
Yeah.
Um, aside from like the ones who are actually activists and out there trying to do things or running for office and stuff like that, I think a lot of them just um, tend to live their normal lives and then come online just to discuss philosophy, and that's good and all, but I think it's necessary to have um, a network and support behind what we're trying to do, um, just to have a greater voice and a greater impact on the culture and people around us.
Yeah. And I don't want to say that it's bad to philosophize online, because I do think it's super important to have those discussions,
Yeah.
especially because I'm not reading economic journals. So I do rely on those people who have had those philosophical discussions to sort of, catch me up a little bit. So, and that philosophy informs our art as well. And
Mm-hmm.
so like it is super important. It's just different from what I do.
Yeah.
How does your libertarianism influence your pottery or your clay, your sculptures? Is it a middle finger to the man?
It kind of is. So actually, I think so. What I do at work is we're across the street from a high school, and
Okay.
we get middle schoolers and high schoolers in all the time. Sometimes they're with their friends, and like one person isn't eating, or they like are $1 short. So we have a gift card in the register, and every once in a while, I'll do a pay it forward Friday, and I'll say, I'm not collecting tips today. I'm putting anything that you give me on this gift card, so that I can buy kids lunch. And then I give them little clay things or plants. So
Okay.
they're not libertarian themed clay things, but they are things that make people happy. And then we get to talk about like taxes and stuff, because I can be like, this way it goes straight on a gift card and I don't have to pay taxes on it. So that's fine.
I like it.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Thanks.
That's awesome. I love little solutions like that. I think if we focus more on those little solutions to things, we could fix a lot of big problems just by starting figuring out, okay, what's the problem in my neighborhood? And we like to
Yeah.
talk about big national discussions about big problems. And we have big problems, don't get me wrong, but so many of those big problems became big because we just don't take care of our neighbors. We don't talk to them, we don't interact with them, and we don't, come up with community solutions.
Now, speaking of that, is there anything going on in Tennessee where you're at right now, that we can highlight?
Let's see, Tennessee.
You just had a convention though, right? So you're kind of winding down from that.
Yeah, that was a little while ago. But yeah, Tennessee has had some things in the news recently.
Yeah.
So I guess there was the bill kind of going after the drag queen story hours and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of heated debate around that bill. And
Well, didn't it ban all performances by? I think it was even adult performances, wasn't it? It was kind of very very broadly written bill.
exactly, it's very vague.
Right.
So it's not specific at all. So the Tennessee legislator can really kind of skew and stretch that bill to kind of make it whatever they want it to fit their agenda.
They do.
And they
Is
will.
Is that where Dolly Parton had drag queens on stage?
No, that was Lizzo who had drag queens on
Oh,
stage.
sorry.
Dolly
Parton says she's illegal in some states. That's what.
Yeah, I
she's
think that's
from
in
here.
Florida. Yes. Well, I think
Okay.
Dolly Parton was talking about the Florida law, saying that law would make her illegal in those states, which is quite funny. I mean, come on, like DeSantis, you're going to lose to Mickey Mouse. Do not even try to go after Dolly Parton, because you will lose very fast. She is a national treasure. She is not gonna let you win that one. Oh.
Yeah, she's a national treasure, and especially here in Tennessee.
I imagine.
Which is kind of weird, because she's definitely more edgy than the GOP controlled legislator in the state.
Here we have Chuck Norris, so there you go.
Nice.
That's usually how it is. It's been a while since I don't know if the kids these days talk about Chuck Norris, but that was growing up. That Chuck Norris jokes were all the rage for Texans. So.
I'm familiar with Chuck Norris jokes.
I had the Governator for my Governor
Oh.
Schwarzenegger for a while. So
I had a lot of hope for him. He was like, he talked about. I mean, he was quoting Milton Friedman, all this, and gets into office, and it just kind of meh.
Yeah.
God dang it! He spoke so well. It's like Reagan. He spoke so well on the campaign trail, and then it just, when he gets into office, meh.
You gotta give it to him. When he sees a hole, he fills it.
Yeah, exactly. Goodness sakes. Oh man.
I feel a little bit the same way about oh gosh, Glenn Jacobs, Kane the wrestler, is the Knoxville mayor, and he spoke to the Libertarian Party conventions and years ago, and so I got to meet him there, and he said a lot of great things, and I'm not sure he's quite living up to all those things he said.
Well, I know he was. I think he was a member of the Libertarian Party for a while, but then left to run as a Republican. So
yeah,
a pox on him and his house. I'm kidding, of course.
He's still a good guy.
Unless he switches once he gets in office, that's fine.
Right. You can always switch back. There you go. Well, the Libertarian Party did gain a state state legislature in Vermont. They switched allegiances. We had a mayor leave in Florida, leave for the Forward Party, and then in Vermont we had a state legislator switch over. So there you go.
All right.
Let's see. I want to see if he can win a re-election campaign, because with Marshall Burt, losing last election, that was a big downer. So we need to get him to win. Once they've switched to us, we got to get him to win under the Libertarian name, and I think that'll be a big step. Yeah. Big step forward. We'll see.
Yeah. Jonathan, do you have anything else for Jaron before I ask him to give us all of his socials and stuff?
No, I think it's really interesting. I love what you guys are doing. I think it's really good. Again, it's a community based around something that's not just philosophy and talking. It's actually doing and showing, and I can really imagine that it's a real creative community as well. Where can people find you? What can people do to join you? Give us your pitch and your info.
Yeah. So obviously we're on Facebook and Instagram. It's Libertarians Who Make Art. We're on Twitter. Also have a TikTok, and also have a Patreon for people that help support what we're trying to do. That's more of a recent development, which has been great, because there are some costs involved with running the website and things like that. So it's great to have some people that care enough about it to help support it on Patreon.
Nice.
And you guys do have merch. I have stickers that say Libertarians Who Make Art. I'm holding it up. I don't know if you can see me.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. And Jaron, if someone needed I don't know, art for something, or they were looking for whatever, is there a place where they can, reach all of the artists, or reach you to put out a feeler for artists or something to that effect?
Yeah. So you can reach me on social media, on Messenger, Instagram, whichever. There is the Facebook group with a lot of the people in there posting things. There's also a Discord channel for connecting with others, and if anyone needs something, you can just post a question in either of those two groups.
Are those open to non-artists too, like folks that just appreciate art?
Yeah. I know
everyone's an artist, just whether or not they know it or not.
I agree. I want to do art workshops for that reason.
There you go.
Cool. And Jonathan, where can we find the CLC?
lpclc.org, and we've got all our links up there. So.
Yep. And if you want to be a guest on the show, or you have a suggestion for someone that you'd like to be on the show, please shoot me an email at danielle.s, spelled correctly, DANIELLE, .s at lpclc.org.
That's it.
All right.
Without the question mark, though.
Yeah, don't add the question mark. That's just me. Well, thank you for your time, Jaron.
You're welcome.
Have a great rest of your night.
Thanks,
Thanks, you
Jaron.
too.